still cold but warmer, and as you can see, some of the animals are actually daring to venture out now again. And what's going on today? I guess this was kind of interesting at first. Apparently, someone's claiming a drone, I guess, is flying around the neighborhood and dropping things on people, causing injury. This one says, Gautier woman says drone dropped a tiny anchor on her. And as it says here, a woman told police she was injured when a drone flew over her home and dropped a tiny anchor on her. Yes, really. The report has police investigating and neighborhood vigilance promising to shoot down the drone, which remained at large as of Wednesday afternoon. It's like spreading like wildfire through the neighborhood, Gautier Police Chief Danny Sullivan said over the bizarre incident. Now everybody's talking about shooting it down, and that's discharging a firearm in the city limits. We don't want things going haywire. And how is it described? Like the small object, it says it's a decorative anchor measuring about 3 inches by 5 inches. Sullivan said the anchor was made of metal and weighed about a pound. The woman advised officers a drone had flown over her home and dropped the decorative item, striking her in the arm. She was transported to Ocean Spring Hospital for treatment. So they're making it sound like they're pretty positive it was a drone in this case, and the comment here says, you never know. It could be somebody with a screw loose trying to hurt people. Sullivan was asked what the exact charge would be for attacking someone with a decorative anchor dropped from a drone. To be an assault, you have to have intent. That they did it on purpose, he noted. We actually reached out to the district attorney's office to get their opinion, and they said the same thing. There has to be intent. So it's one of those things here. Is it a drone or is it not? Because many times people say it was, but it ended up being nothing or something else. I'm just surprised in this case when people are so certain there's no pictures and stuff still with their cell phones at least. Which makes me think again, with all this hysteria, people keep talking about shooting things out of the sky, and like they say it could be just as dangerous with things like bullets landing on the ground afterwards. Why don't you just find, for example, another drone operator or something like that who's around the area, and they can fly up their drone and see, hey, there it is. Shouldn't it be that simple? As opposed to like general hysteria trying to classify everyone as the same thing. There's going to be people using various tools for good and bad. I mean, look how fast I can find a drone just for the heck of it. Just to prove if there is a drone, I can find it pretty quickly in terms of where it is and where the operator is as well usually. And this was kind of wacky too. I guess people are having battles in space already. This one says, China says its space station dodged Starlink satellites twice this year. SpaceX's constellation might pose a safety risk. Already from the airspace here to up in space, huh? Astronomers aren't the only ones taking issue with SpaceX's Starlink satellites. As CNET reports, China has filed a complaint with the United Nations over 2 reported near collisions between the in-progress Tiangong space station and Starlink vehicles. According to Chinese officials, the station had to perform evasive maneuvers on July 1st and October 21st this year to minimize the chance of a collision. Now the interesting thing from reading some of the comments too, some people are claiming they could be just making it up, like China or whatever, just because they want more territory and all that. Like here, this guy says what? Just off the top of my head, this should never happen. Starlink satellite orbit at about 550 kilometers and space stations are supposed to be around 400 kilometers. If they're dodging things that are supposed to be 150 kilometers away, they're out of position. So would you think that's true or not? But just kind of interesting with all these stories of, I guess, aviation, airspace, near misses, claims, and reports. It's going everywhere, here on Earth and in space now. And to answer a quick question, which actually might be related to some end of the year stuff, and what I asked people, you asked here, can you please tell us about your workflow? How do you post a daily vlog every day without going crazy? Can't really say much about workflow stuff. It is what it is. You just, I guess, film and you edit and so forth, unless there's something specific. But in terms of how I don't go crazy, I guess the short answer, if you're talking about things like burnout and stuff that people go through, one, I do what I'm passionate about, because if you do that, then you kind of have the energy to keep going all the time, right? Some extra insights into that, where a lot of people would say, well, what are you talking about? I am doing what I'm passionate about and so forth. I enjoy doing this, but in reality, it could be the only reason the person created the video on that subject matter is because it's giving them let's just say, the attention or whatever that they're looking for. It could be ultimately the only reason why they're doing it, like that video, is so they can generate more, I guess, buzz or business to sell some kind of product, program, or whatever it is they're doing. So imagine having to do that afterwards, saying, oh, if I don't create this, then I'm not going to sell more, I guess, programs and so forth, or whatever it is. You can't fake that if you're trying to do it, let's just say, every single day. You generally have to be doing it because you actually enjoy it. The other factor, I would say, it comes down to life balance. Everything that I film and so forth, I'm filming it because it's just what's happening in the day so far. I don't necessarily go out of my way purposely to try to do it. Now, there are things, for example, at times where people would say, hey, can you capture this or that? Now, I would go crazy if every single time I read that, I'd like, okay, now I have to go out and film something like that. Whereas for me, it's more, this is what my day is. If I happen to go by this area and so forth, I remember what this person said, so I'll capture it. Now, a lot of the stuff actually that I do, it came as a result of people commenting. Like, it's funny enough, like things like the squirrel, I thought it was so common, like a pigeon, in terms of like they're everywhere, but apparently some people told me no. Like they don't see it in their area, so it's really special to them. So what I started to do was film the squirrels. Like there with the life balance, I'm passing by the area, so why not? I can do it. Versus if I wasn't, imagine me going crazy like, oh no, now today I have to purposely go find one or something like that. You go crazy in that way. So there has to be a balance there where I'd love to capture this or that. It has to, in some ways, accommodate with my lifestyle as well. So you can't have the extreme of one end or the other. Otherwise, again, you'd probably go crazy. And with that thought, everything that I do has a reason behind it. For example, things like the drone videos and all that, I didn't do it necessarily because, oh, let's just see a pretty picture. The reason why I flew it every single day initially, you can go back in the past, is for me to practice. No aviation background or anything like that. Let's see if someone practicing every day could actually learn to be good with it. Or another great example in terms of how everything, there's a reason why it's done that way. You guys know when there's bad weather and I can't fly the drone, what happens for the video? I say it's time for the archive, correct? That's not how it always was. What happened was, if you guys remember way back, DJI had all those issues with the Mavic Pros. There was something wrong with the camera on the drone, so I sent it back asking like, hey, what's wrong? Sent them all the equipment that they asked for. I didn't do anything wrong, and they never gave me an answer. Now I wanted to know what's wrong with it. Instead, they're just like, oh, I'm gonna charge this guy this and that, and there was such a saga over that, and you guys remember that. And during that time, I didn't have a drone. I couldn't record any drone footage. And one of you wrote in the comment, you're hoping this whole thing will solve quickly because you missed the drone videos. So what happened there from that time when I read that comment, after I made a video that day, I would start making archive footages. I never did that before. If I couldn't fly the drone, then you didn't see anything. So that showed you an example how everything has a purpose. And that makes me think too, because recently, like this year for example, there's been quite a few examples, but there was one where an elderly lady who watched things like my drone video, she was expressing to me how it made her so happy just seeing the scenery and all that, because her husband recently passed away as well. So it was a way to take her mind off of it, and it actually inspired her to try to capture stuff. It's like, to me, wow, that's awesome. Now, she can't actually speak English that well, so obviously with things like the news and stuff like that, it's completely over her head. She just wants to watch things like the drone video for relaxation, which makes me think, because everyone benefits in a different way. I still remember one odd comment actually. One guy was saying the outro was too long for him. I'm like, the outro is too long? Technically the outro in my video is only maybe about 7 seconds or 10 seconds, just like what, 3 clips of a drone video? But his thought of a quote outro was everything. Like the animal videos and all that. I'm like, that's not an outro, that's the whole video. But it shows you like that person, his perspective is, oh, this is a quote news like channel or something like that. I'm like, no, it's not. Like technically, like I said, in my mind, it's a documentary and I'm talking about all this stuff. And things just happen in life, like hysteria with drone regulations and stuff like that. So that's why I talk about stuff like that. Now with that comes life balance. For example, the reason why I created things like the archive footages, I figured, hey, it'll work out for me because I could learn a new skill with things like maybe editing and all that as well. I found throughout this time though, because obviously I fly it every day and all that, I almost feel like I need to do something different artistically because I feel that I peaked, so to speak, skill-wise in the way I'm editing, in the way I'm capturing footage and all that. So there's kind of a ceiling right now. So what else could I do in that sense artistically? Now what that could mean is a completely different intro style. I'm thinking of how I could potentially integrate everything together, because right now with the way I'm doing it, everything is broken off into sections. For example, like here's me talking about what I read during the day, here's like the animal clip, the drone video. I'm thinking if I could somehow incorporate it all into a more, I guess, story-centric type of presentation. And if I need to show something like more dedicated, like just say a dedicated drone video, then I could create a dedicated video like that. So I'm wondering if I could somehow do that in terms of, I guess, challenging myself artistically that way, whereas at the same time maybe it will benefit more people as well, because there again it comes down to the life balance as well. So that's something I was thinking about. Any thoughts about that? Because just in general, you always need to grow as well. Alright, see you guys later.